Threshold number 2, written by Keith Giffen, art by Tom Rainey. Last issue we left off with Stealth being visited by Space Ranger, and then a crew of bounty hunters showed up outside her house. If any of that means anything to you, congratulations, you remembered more than I did. So we open up with a single page of like an I can read now sort of book, like super low level kid reading of basically explaining how the hunt works, where it's like, see the bad thing run, see the bad thing get shot or vaporized or burned. It's messed up, but I love it. So then we get back to the main story where Stealth and Space Ranger are being fired upon, and Stealth's like, what club is it? Like, who's firing on us? And he's like, does it matter? Yes. Okay, it's Crimson Thrust. And she's like, crap. So at that point, she throws out what seems to be a space grenade out there. It takes out most of them, but there are still some snipers nearby. So they make a run for it, and basically it's just a debate back and forth of Stealth and Space Ranger of who's going to be leading who to where. And Stealth is like, okay, you go away for a while, I'll deal with this. And she goes into her weird invisible mode as Space Ranger just like hides in a nearby alley. So then we get Crimson Thrust, who are like, okay, some of our guys are down, they're in bad shape. What's going on with her? What are we going to do? And one of the guys is like, I've studied her. She's as much in the hunt as we are. And it's like, meaning what? It's like, she's going to try to kill us. Like, she's not just going to run. She's actively going to hunt us down as well. And her whole thing is invisibility, but she can't use it while she's moving. So we just got to find her. And then they're like, okay, but like, what if she just waits for us to come to her? And it's like, oh, you think she's suicidal like that? And then all of a sudden we see her little outline, and she has got a knife around the one guy's throat, and she just immediately goes around killing all of Crimson Thrust. So then she meets back up with Space Ranger, and she's like, all right, I'm going with you. And he's like, why? And he's like, well, I'm covered in blood, and I'm hoping that wherever you have at least has a shower. And it's like, fair enough. So they make their way out, and then we cut to the host, and I assume one of the producers, and basically they're just talking like, okay, ratings are a little bit in a neutral stance right now. They went up for a little bit when we brought in Jediah Call. Stealth is always a big earner because she's been around for, I guess, 3 seasons. She's the longest lasting one, despite someone named quote-unquote Legend or No Name. But apparently he's just a myth. And they are also dropping in Blue Beetle, a.k.a. Jaime Reyes. At the end of his own book, he was abducted, and now he is brought into the games as well. But apparently the Reach, which is what the Blue Beetle is, have a long-standing kill-on-sight order for any Green Lanterns, and since Jediah Call is also a Green Lantern, it could cause extremely widespread damage to the city just between them infighting. And that's what the producer was worried about, but the host is like, it's going to be great, it's going to be hilarious for ratings. So then we cut over to Jaime, who's currently in a holding cell, where they're announcing him being dropped into the game on TV, and 2 of his hosts are like, why isn't he in his armor? He's just a kid. Like, what's going on with that? So at that point, we see Jaime inside his cell, and he's just like, I am pretty much screwed here, aren't I? So then we cut over to a local bar that Jediah has managed to stumble into. And it's kind of like a neutral area. Like, nobody's going to come hunting for him there. He's safe, at least for the moment. But then in walks, I think her name was Amber? I don't know. Regardless, she walks in along with this one guy. And remember, she tried to get him to a place that's like off the grid, into like a resistance sort of thing. And at that point, the guy says like, hey, here's the thing. I'm going to give you some information, and all I ask in return is a favor eventually. And he tells him, like, they're dropping a Blue Beetle, they're dropping a Scarab into the game, and he will hunt you down. Even if your ring's not charged, he can sniff you out like a bloodhound. And he's like, all right, and he's, I guess, thanks, whatever, I'm still not going with you. And he's like, fine, whatever, but you owe me a favor at least. And so Jediah storms out, and the guy's like, yep, it's worthwhile to always have those favors stored up. So I don't think we even get his name at any point in here. They call him Dink, but I think that's used as an insult. Anyway, we cut to the show, and we see that Jaime is being dropped into the game, and the host is like, This guy, he's with the Reach, and we all know how bad the Reach is. We all know how terrible the Scarabs have been. They've been horrible murderers across the galaxy. I really wanted to take away his 1-day grace period. What do you have to say for yourself, Scarab? And Jaime's like, and he's like, your silence is deafening. Anyway, get running. You've got 1 day's grace period. So he goes off running. And then we see that there's a group already watching him, which is made up of an anthropomorphic pig, a woman with some weird fur on her face, and a talking space rabbit named Captain Carrot. This is Captain Carrot. It's anyway. So they're looking on. They kind of got like a Guardians of the Galaxy sort of vibe to them, and they're like, "Hey, that's the kid. He's Reach. He's big money or whatnot. So let's go ahead and get him." And it says here, got a stand-in order from the consortium for one of those Reach Scarabs. So I guess they're not doing it for the sake of the game. They're just doing it for some other thing in order to get the Scarab off of them. So Jaime's sitting in the alley basically recounting, hey, if you weren't reading my series, I got teleported to the Reach homeworld, and then they took me off of there and put me on this reality show. Okay? So at that point, Captain Carrot comes in, knocks Jaime out, and was like, cool, all right, we got him. That seems pretty easy. And it's worth noting this entire time he's having arguments with his like crewmates, including the pig one who seems... I don't think he even has a name here. Pig Iron. Great name. Anyway, because they knocked out Jaime, his suit auto-responds, and it apparently starts sleepwalking/sleep shooting them as well. So they start running from Blue Beetle. Meanwhile, we cut to Jedediah, who has made his way to a gunrunner's house, and apparently he was the one who sold out Jedediah. Yeah, I don't know any of this. His name, I think, was Gorm. So, anyway, Jedediah goes around, he starts picking up guns. In runs Captain Carrot, and he's like, hey, Jedediah, quick question. That whole Reach versus the Green Lanterns thing, is that true? And Jedediah's like, why do you want to know? And he's like, no particular reason, as Blue Beetle busts into the room following them. And he's like, hey, it's not my fault. We both knew the same gunrunner. We were just here for the guns. We weren't worried about you. So at that point, Captain Carrot starts trying to taunt Blue Beetle into attacking Jedediah so that he's able to escape. And he's like, hey, it's better you than me. I did apologize, by the way. So Blue Beetle attacks Jedediah. Jedediah has some guns that he's using to fire against him. And the very last panel is Blue Beetle making a giant sword and him saying, oh boy, this is going to hurt. So that's that. Here's the thing. I'm not 100% on all the characters yet. I really did have to go back to the first issue and just refamiliarize myself because it didn't do the best job of, like, you know, Jedediah is about the only name I had burned into my brain. Stealth, Space Ranger, all the new characters we just introduced, especially Ember and that other guy. I don't know any of them really by heart. So the fact that we were introducing probably twice as many characters as we had in the first issue, I really need you to slow it down because you're getting to like a Legion of Superheroes problem where there's just too many characters and not enough time familiarizing myself with any of them. In general, though, I like the art style of the book. Blue Beetle looks fantastic, just compared to what I've seen him in his own book. I like the art style there, but this bumps it up to this extra like painterly style, and it really is good. Writing-wise, I can tell they have a big story in mind. They've got it all planned out, and I'm interested to see where it goes, but I really need to be more invested in the characters. So hopefully we don't get too many more characters coming in here. I say that knowing full well I'm sure we're going to have at least like 4 more. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a 7. It's just kind of good, not great, but also has a few issues with it as well. Just a nice middle-of-the-road sort of book. So hopefully we can get some sort of just character guide by next issue.